Turn it on again. Good morning, everyone. Sorry about that slight hiccup. Thanks for taking the time to come along to the IBTM Accelerate Theatre. My name's Al Turner. Myself and Adam, who I'll introduce very shortly, we've been involved in the curation of the content of this theatre throughout the 3 days. I just wanted to sort of set what we're doing here in the Tech Theatre. First of all, the theme for the show is Tech for Good. So we're talking a lot about how tech can be good, not only for events, but for the world that we live in as well. And that's our general theme. So hopefully, as you come to different sessions, you'll pick up a running theme about what we're trying to do here. The sort of micro themes is we're looking at 3 days and calling them now, near, and next. So yesterday, we looked at all the things that are kind of happening sort of at the moment. Today, we're looking more at things that are happening over the next sort of year, maybe year and a half, and tomorrow we're going to have some fun and try and project into the future what that's going to look like in the world of event tech. I should understand if you weren't here yesterday or you couldn't pick up on all the sessions, they're all available on YouTube. They're apparently about a couple of weeks after the show finishes, but do have a look at them and fill in any gaps that you wanted to as well. But in the meantime, what we're trying to do is we're starting off every day just to set the scene. So I'm delighted to introduce my pal Adam Parry, who is speaking to Francesca Rodriguez Balit, and they're going to set the theme for the day. And I hope you enjoy what should be a really enlightened session. So maybe a little ripple of welcome applause for the guys as well.
Thank you, Al. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's really exciting for me to have Francesca here. She is an absolute superstar when it comes to all things web marketing and online presence. So we're going to touch on some of the things that are happening right now when it comes to online presence, those first impressions when attendees, sponsors, things like that come across your brand or return to your brand. We're going to talk about some of the trends that Francesca's seeing, some of the things that are coming in the future, some of the things that excite her. But just to set the scene, could you just give us a little brief introduction about yourself and how you ended up in the events industry doing what you do now?
Yes, sure. Thanks so much for having me on here. It's lovely to be with you and with all of you for this half an hour here today. So yeah, I'm Francesca Rodriguez Balit. I'm the founder of Bbr Web Design, which is a web design agency where we help event professionals achieve their marketing goals by having a high converting website, really, to attract more audience. I'm also the podcast host of the Events Cast, which is a podcast for events, which we talk about all things event marketing, and really how I came into the world of events. Well, I've always been that event person from a very young age, always been the party planner for family travel. I always knew I wanted to do events. I was lucky enough to be in a place which, in my time, there was no events degree, so I just didn't do events, really. So the next closest thing which I was advised to do was go into marketing, go into PR. Okay, great. 4 years of studying advertising, marketing, not a word of events ever, so great change. But anyway, from there went into work into my first internship at a fintech startup.
Yep.
And very much by accident, I ended up being their event person. So running their trade shows around the world, we created our own events. And really doing that of like the marketing of the events and also the planning of our own events, I realized that I'm not an event planner, actually. I'm an event marketer. So from there, I went into work in the marketing department of events producers. And after various years of doing the whole digital marketing scene, where you do email marketing, social media, copy, design, website, advertising, you do everything, I personally wanted to specialize. And for me, the thing I most loved was webs.
Yep.
From the degree, really, I started doing webs, freelancing for friends and stuff. And in my previous role, with a team, my directors always say, no, you need to hand this off. You need to hand the website off. You need to get someone to do it. But it was the only part I absolutely loved. So I just really was curious in how we could make our websites better, how we could make them more converting. My KPIs was always, you need to get people to the events. My biggest resource was like, well, I'm bringing all these people onto our website because we were doing great social efforts. We were doing great other marketing efforts. But then it was like, well, how can we get all these people to convert? You know, we're seeing these big numbers, but we aren't getting these numbers to our events. So that started for me. Anyway, long story short, COVID hit like I saw. I was the lucky one to still have work, and a lot of work, actually. But I got the realization that I wanted to pursue an idea which I'd had for a very long time, which was set up my own business and travel more, really, become like a digital nomad and work from wherever. So that's where BBR started, really. So nowadays we work with event producers like Informa or like recruitment events like Breakfast, I know you know, with event teams that have a large pool of events. We build websites, we design them, but most of all, what we actually do, I started it thinking we were going to do more of the web design, but we realized that there's all this work actually to do in keeping your websites up to date, because building a great website, if no one, if it's not up to date, you can build it fantastic today. In 3 months, it's out to date, especially us in the events industry. There's other industries. I mean, if you're a dentist, you probably offer the same services now in 3 months. But in events, our websites, as our events evolve throughout these stages, you've got your speaker and sponsor acquisition, your delegate acquisition, your event day, your post-event. You've got all these stages, and it's so important that it is, frankly, on a daily basis, up to date, and you can do improve and really take all what's happening around you in the words and in your event onto your website to make the best experience possible for your user. Because, I mean, if you want to come to my event and you come today to my website and you're not convinced about it, you see a social post next week, you think, oh, I'll give you another chance, let me go back to the website. And it's exactly the same. There's nothing new to convince you. There's nothing more, well, I've given you no reason, really, no extra reason to come. So that's what we do. Anyway, a short answer with a very, short question.
There's some great detail in there, and I think there's some things I'd really love to dig into. I see a stark difference to the way that the events industry tends to approach their website or their online presence to what we see maybe in retail, online retail. There's lots of hooks and things to get you either keep coming back to those websites to try and sell you more products, or even just to get that content, those contact details out of you so that they can push those further information, those news, those offers. A very stark difference between how we seem to approach it and maybe how they approach it. So I think there's some learnings there. But before we get into some of what you're doing and the trends and those bits of, I guess, tips and tricks that people in the room are going to be able to go away with and think about implementing themselves, when you start working with a client on their web presence as part of their marketing campaign, where do you start with them? Is it kind of, do you rip up the book and kind of go, we're going to scrap everything you've got already? What's the process?
I mean, for everyone, the process is a bit different because it depends on the scale of your events and everything you're running. But for me, always the first step, wherever you are, is there's always a place where I start this asking, well, who is your audience? Where are they? Who's really audience there? And what are your goals too? So I think like a lot of times when, especially in the events industry, we're very fast moving past from that event side. I get this all the time. We needed a website. Well, they come to me and it's like, I need it tomorrow. I've known it for the last 3 months, but I need it tomorrow because that's just our industry. Everything happens like very fast. So a lot of times we forget about this initial step of really sitting down and really looking, well, what is the journey behind this? Really taking the time to create a user experience journey on our site, because you probably all have various different audiences come to your website and at different stages. So first you have different audiences being maybe your attendees, your speakers, your sponsors, your exhibitors. So you've got these different people, and within those there's all these different audiences. Within your actual attendee there's probably different audiences in itself which you might be selling your event to. And then all those, you have these different stages with you. You might have someone that's totally new for your event that knows nothing about you. There might be someone that has been to past event. There's all these different audiences that you really need to map out, analyze, and find out what they need from you at what point, and what you want to communicate with them, what you are trying to deliver. You also need to set. I mean, the biggest mistake most people do on their website is that they don't have a clear message or a clear goal. Yep. And many times there's too many messages, too many goals. Where I want you to register, and if you don't register, you want to follow me on LinkedIn and subscribe to the newsletter and do all this. And people with too many options, they get confused and they don't take action.
Do you think that's because people often feel that more is better in that sense?
Yes, I think like people feel like, oh, well, I know that I need to be offering something else if they're not ready, so let me just offer all the options and let them choose. Yep. People want choice. Well, yes, people want choice. They want choice between A and B, not between from A to Z. Yep. Too much choice confuses people, and that's where like one of the biggest trends really on websites what are coming now is really simplifying your website and the whole journey and the whole experience with them. I think a few years ago, we went through the stage of literally, wow, I've got this resource of a website and I could put all this information on and it doesn't cost me any more money. You know, like when we moved from print media to selling a website, it's like I don't suddenly have a 200 character limit, which I have to pay by word. I can say everything on here. So let me get all my information and chuck it on the website. And
it's really interesting you say this, because I have this challenge with my team, even in the marketing team, and everybody has a different objective when it comes to the website, right? There's people who want to get people to register. There's the sales team who want people to buy. There's the operations team who want to get people to know where to go and when to go. And my point is, well, we're having a brochure often built with all of that kind of information on that we're then driving people to try and download it. So, like, where's the balance? I guess less is more, but how do you make sure that you're funneling the right person in the right direction and you're not leaving anybody in the dark, shall we say?
Yeah, well, I think that really comes down with a really in-depth study of really analysing, and that's where there are a lot of professionals that do this, like the user experience and really mapping out the journeys and really understanding where, what happens, what makes people to take actions and where they are and where they take them. Like, you do need to guide them in the right direction. But that's what you're saying, like, you have a brochure with all that information. You've got an exhibitor, you want them to download that. Well, you don't need to put all that information on the site because that's what you're trying to direct them to download. So it's about saying the right things at the right time to make them download that. And one of the best resources to do this is really having a good copywriter. Yep. So many people, one website's the biggest thing that's left out, like not having a copy person, especially in events. I see a lot of the people I work with end up, the marketing person does it, or the event producer writes the copy for the website. There's all these other people who are not word professionals writing words to try to convince it. And it's a big skill to be able to say a lot in 5 or 6 words. And it's so important to be able, for me to communicate to you exactly what you want to hear, to convince you to download that brochure in the least words possible. And that's where we really come down of simplifying. It's not about not giving them what they need, but it's like giving it in a much easier format, so with simpler words, with less words, with more visuals, with less close cluster around us. And I think a lot of this also comes with like the use of more video that I know we wanted to touch on slightly, of like how can we maybe say this. So if anyone is on here on social, maybe on Instagram Reels nowadays, on Stories, even on TikTok, we will consume this really fast-paced content, which you don't need. You're seeing a video on a Reel, let's say, and they're just saying these words, and you understand the whole story. You don't need to have someone typing the whole thing out to you. And that's where also the behaviors of people are really changing, and we really need to understand this and bring this onto our website, because with this change of our behaviors digitally, we need to change how we're showing it. We don't browse websites how we did 5 years ago. We don't consume them. We don't expect the same thing. Yeah. So how can we incorporate these trends, these other social trends into our website?
That's a really interesting point, because when we look at social media platforms, I guess as a content delivery mechanism, they start to understand a lot about us, don't they, as individuals, and then serve more of the content up that we either like or want, or they think's relevant to us. Do you see anything in the near future where the tools will be available to us? Maybe we can hook that into our CRM, our HubSpot, or the website will almost become organic and start to recognize who we are. I know that's a bit big brotherish because some people don't like being tracked and things like that, but I want the information that I want being saved up to me. So I'm all up for being tracked, to be honest with you. Do you think we'll get to that point when it comes to those tools like websites and things that be able to personalize that experience?
Yeah. So this is probably my biggest disappointment of the moment, that those tools are already available and they're actually already there for us all to use them. Like whatever, depends what you are using for your website, but most web builders already have some type of functionality or some type of plugin which you can use. A lot of them have it on your CRM, which you're plugging in. So dynamic content, for me, is the future of websites. Yep. So there's various ways which we can use dynamic content. You have an automated dynamic content, which is where I feel the future going and where I think we should put all this more effort in. And dynamic content, we have 2 ways of doing it. The basic geographic location, which is basically you track the location where someone's viewing your website and you deliver different content to them. That is obviously a great thing if we are an event provider which have, hundreds of events in different locations of the world. Well, your audience in Australia does not need to see your UK events first front of the hero because that's your next event. Okay, you maybe want to have it somewhere down at the bottom so that they know you organize these events just in case if they are, it's not leaving it out. But the hero, of your event happening next week in London, which they can't make it, that is not what they need to see. So first you can use like that geographic location to serve dynamic content based on where they are. But then the one that excites me a lot more is browser-based content. So serving dynamic content based on what you know of that user. So what you were just saying there of tracking. So for example, I say you are totally new to my event. You don't know anything about it. You're the first time on the site. Great. Well, I decide to serve you more an overall brochure look of my site. You need a bit of information of everything to understand what my event's about. Okay, you've seen the speaker profiles, you've looked at my agenda, but you've gone without registering. Next time you come back, I know you've already been there. I can serve you different information the next time you'll be back. So I can maybe decide that I'm giving you that hasn't convinced you, so I'm going to give you different information. I can maybe serve you more information on the speakers because I know that was your interest. I can serve you now different information because I know you've already visited the website, so you are likely to need different information than what you did to your first visit. And the journey can then go onwards, say that then you register. But next time you come back, you've already registered. I don't need to continue saying to you now, register for my event. Well, I can serve you a whole different site now. I can serve you a whole attendee hub, which is saying, so great to get you involved. Here's a social banner to share with your LinkedIn contacts, and here's the agenda, and download the app. And next time, after you download the app, I can show you, so I can take you on this journey. Yeah. Or a simpler version, say you analyze something, you identify someone's an attendee or someone's an exhibitor, you show them different content. And the one also I quite like on browser-based is identifying that of your database, someone that is totally new who has visited your site that has no knowledge about you. So like we were saying before, they need some type of information. But if you're doing these email marketing campaigns to an audience which that might have already attended your previous events, essentially, they don't need that introduction from you because they already know it. They just need the information of the event. So you can serve to them a whole different site. So this is totally possible already. Practically no one's using it, really.
Is that a cost thing? It sounds super expensive and super complicated.
Obviously, there's expense involved.
Yeah.
There's various different ways to do it. It's not as expensive as it sounds, really. I think the biggest cost really involves this because there's a big planning part of it. You really need to do your good homework of mapping these journeys and decide what content you're doing it. And it's not as easy as building a website anymore. You just send me the content, I'll just chuck up on there. Suddenly you might have, you might want to do it simple. You can start simple, do 5 different instances of your website. But you could have up to 20, 30, hundreds of different instances. That's where it becomes very time consuming. And that's where you really need to put the effort in it. But you can do it simple.
My assumption, though, is if you take that web presence, that first and often last impression of your customer, if you do take it that far, I would imagine that has a profound impact on conversion from web visitor to sponsor or to attendee or even ticket purchaser, right? I'm assuming?
Yes, of course, because we're in a world that we all want personalization, but we don't want too much because it seems like they're tracking us if they exactly, if we see that banner floating around with us. It's, we're in this weird place right now that everyone wants exactly what, they want that personalization and not, but anything that you are really helping them take them on that journey. And it's really not about personalizing, saying, hi, Adam. I think those things are really freaky, personally. I think that was a bit of a trend a few years ago when it was after you fill in a form, we'd put it in, and then when you came back, it would say on the site, hi, Adam. And personally, I'm not a fan of that. Maybe on your attendee hub, because that you suddenly registered for my event, so you've got a different hub, but that's a different phase. But it does help conversion because you are taking them on that journey they need. So it's really personalizing a journey on them on your site, like we're doing then with attendee journeys and journeys on our events. It's just thinking of it and building that experience. Because something I love to say is that your event website is where your experience of your event starts. So no matter who is out there, no matter where they know you don't know them, they don't know you yet, they're going to come to your website first. That first impression you give, that is where your event experience starts. It doesn't start the day of your event. It doesn't start after. It starts in that first moment they come to your website. And I think we really need to focus more on this. We really need to focus on starting that experience way from that first moment they come on your event onto your site, and taking them through that journey. And that comes with a lot of different type of personalization and engagement on the website. We were talking a lot about engagement, interactivity on websites, and yeah, I think we just really need to think of how we're creating an experience on a website.
So what does that look like to you then, Francesca? When we're talking about engagement, obviously in a room like this, we totally understand we've got Slido, people can put their hands up, hopefully people are looking and listening and things like that. A website is essentially a static. How is it interactive for an attendee? How do you define that?
Yeah, so I think we really need to look at like what you were even saying before of the e-commerce sites and ways that which really we are engaging more digitally now. We expect to engage with people on the other side. We long has gone those times when it's just a website and like Wikipedia, boring websites which you consume. With social media, with apps, with all these chat platforms, people are now accustomed to interact with people online. And there are all these possibilities. We just don't really use them on the website in general, especially in our industry. I don't really know why, but they are out there. So for example, it looks like bringing interactivity in, it's bringing all these small touch points which someone can engage with you, even though you're not exactly on the other side. I mean, I think everyone comes to mind like a chatbot. That's like the obvious one, but you need someone on the other side or not. But that's like one of the basic ones. But how can we incorporate like these two-way conversations? So something I love, which we've been working quite a lot on this year already, and it really increases conversion actually, is like bringing like gamification onto our website. So we talk quite a lot about gamification in the industry on virtual events. How do we bring gamifications to get our audience to engage more on our virtual events and the chats, to get them to share the post onto social? Why aren't we doing that like on the forefront? Why do we keep all these great ideas we have behind the paid wall for this experience which we need you to register to event to start this? Like bring it forward. So gamification, obviously we're not talking about playing Monopoly on a website with someone on the other side. It's very simple at touch point. So like with this client I've been working with this year, we incorporated like scratch cards and roulettes on their website. So it comes out very not invasive on the side of your website, like a little gift icon, and you click on it and you've got like this pop-up with a scratch card or a roulette, which allows them to play. To win something. And everyone loves to win something. Everyone loves the possibility, especially if you've got paid events, to get like a half price or total free price. And the great thing is you can they play, they interact with you. They're going to give you your email, which is a great way to capture leads, great native organic way to get their leads. Then you can give them a price, and that will also like increase your conversion to them use that to buy your ticket. If they're doubting, they're browsing your website doubting, should I go to this event? No, wait, someone got 50% discount? Yeah, you've had to convince them. And then the best thing, about this, their email, they've got a discount, they haven't registered, you've got an organic way to follow up with them on your email marketing. Say, hey, Adam, I saw that you got, or congratulations for getting a 50% discount on for the ticket. I saw you haven't consumed it yet. Remember to do it before X day. You've got a really nice conversation to follow with them. And that's where you can continue this conversation. I think interactivity is all about providing value first, trying to look for them to engage and them to interact with you to do something. And you responding about that. It's not just about, many times digitally we do something wrong, is that we just ask our audience to do things and we never respond back to it. So I think whenever we're thinking about doing it, it's really responding. So yeah, like gamification's one way, quizzes, polls, calendars, calculators, all different ways we could do it. Depends the industry. Like, I mean, maybe you do this quiz. If you're doing a conference for for marketers, for example, maybe you could do like this quiz, like, see how bulletproof your marketing plan is for 2023 now, which you do all these series of questions and you get like a calculator or answer at the end, but then you need to respond with that afterwards. Or even like bringing this interactivity on your speakers or on your agenda page. So if, say we're doing that dynamic content or not, but we've got like this attendee hub for which we're directing the user to with all this travel information and the agenda and everything. You can then like do some type of quiz or something like, find out what is the best content here for you. So say they do like this quick quiz answering what are their interests, and you say, well, these are the 5 speakers, these are 5 sessions you can't miss. Or the activities, these are the 5 things happening you can't miss. Or for your exhibitors, these are the 5 booths you want to do. So it's really starting that conversation with them, and you can also get so much information if you're getting that. Suddenly, I know that, Adam, you're interested in this, and this, and this if you fill that in. Now I could take that into my campaigns too. So I think that's where it comes down a lot to, yeah, providing value, engaging, and getting to know more. And there's so many ways we can do it. It's really just thinking. I think we really need to stop thinking about, well, not stop thinking. We need to incorporate all these ideas we're thinking from our virtual events and for our actual events, and just say we could stop hiding them behind the wall and just bring them forefront and start having that conversation earlier on in the journey with our users, and that is on your website.
I love the idea of competitions and maybe league tables and getting something rolling every month that people can keep coming back for, and have another chance at maybe winning a ticket or something, some access to the event that feels special or something like
cool
that.
Merch or something.
Yeah, exactly. And the bar is low with those kind of things, isn't it? We're not necessarily offering Teslas and 5-star luxury holidays to Las Vegas or anything like that. It's just those things that have tangible value to people and they want to engage with. And there's an element of fun, right? I really love those. I really love those ideas. One thing, and I'm conscious of time. One thing I know is on everybody's agenda and radar, and it's a more serious conversation, is around accessibility, right? What do we need to consider to keep up with those guidelines and have the right websites and tools in place so that people, when they have accessibility requirements, they can actually get the information and interact with that website?
Yeah, so accessibility is one of those topics which we really need to be better in, and I would love to see, just like next month, 2023 already, so everyone doing a better effort here, because it's one of these topics which is so important, and it's actually not that difficult on a website point of view. So especially if you already have a website built on like a high quality web builder or with a high quality theme, plugins, you're likely to be right there already on your way. If you're building it from scratch, you might have a bit, more to look at. But it's not that difficult to then incorporate some few things. What we really need to think about is, can anyone, no matter if their disability, no matter their impairments, if they have visual impairments, hearing impairments, motor skill impairments, whatever they have, can they get the content they need from my website? So, for example, if you have images and someone can't see those images, can they get the content which those images are providing? Okay, sometimes you might just have like a background image that doesn't really provide any content, but if you are providing, if that image provides content to what you're trying to say, can that person get that content in a different way? If you have video on your website with audio, and if someone can't hear, can they get that information in a different way? So, for example, there's a lot of things from a content perspective we need to look at, like images. We need to really be making sure we're adding those alt text, which most people know they need to do from an SEO point of view. Most people don't do it very well anyway, but they know they need to do it. But they forget that if anyone's using a screen reader to see your website, that screen reader will read out that alt text. So maybe if you've downloaded a photo from Teams and it's called Microsoft/Teams/001, that's what that person's gonna hear when they're consuming your content. You need to have this is a photo of the Feria in Barcelona where the event's going to be hosted, and that's like one of the important skills. If you have in video, which is providing, they need to have captions for anyone who can't consume the audio. If you have any audio recordings, like maybe from a podcast point of view, if you have that, you need to have transcripts. So, and then there's a whole load of other things to consider. Like there's people with motor skills; they use the keyboard to browse your website. Have you ever tried using a keyboard to browse your website? If you haven't, just try doing it. Use that tab on the side and see what happens. See if you can click the links from your website with tab and enter. See if you can. I would engage people to try it. Then just quickly, from a design perspective, when you're designing it, you really need to consider your color contrast. You really need to consider, especially color contrast. I love when someone tries to put yellow on a white background. Most of us can't even see that anyway, but especially someone with a slight visual impairment, how are they going to see that? So there's a whole load of design perspective. There's some great websites out there that will actually give you all the guidelines. Like, I think we should all, if you're looking at your website, just do a quick search. There's this web accessibility browser that gives you a long list of everything you need to do. And then just my favorite thing, which is very useful right now, is that most web builders have these really nice plugins that can just have this little pop-up on the side of your screen, which allows the user to change the website for their preferences. And I think we should all add onto our website. So this allows them to increase the font size, which is, we many times forget, someone with a slight visual impairment, someone with a slight slightly older can maybe not read your font size, especially if you decide to make it 8 pixels because it looks slightly better.
Yeah.
So just giving the users, where it comes back to this personalization and this experience, and just allowing the user to customize their journey with us. So just by adding that, which it doesn't take a lot of effort, you just have to customize it. You do need to put a bit of work in it, but you can allow them to change the color contrast, make a dark mode background, change the font size, turn off any audio if they want to, turn any animations. Like animation is this thing that especially 2021 came into massive effect. Suddenly there's all these things happening. Anyone with like psychometric disabilities, that affects how they consume your website. So yeah, I would say look at incorporating one of those, look at the site, see the design standards, and really just want to do an effort and just try browsing your website with a screen reader or with your mouse and see what the experience is like.
Awesome. That's fantastic advice. We have run out of time, unfortunately. I could sit here and talk for another 15, 20 minutes. I don't know if anybody in the room has got any questions. I don't know if we've got any on Slido, but Francesca will be hanging around if you'd like to grab her. In a single answer, though, I have one final question for you. What is your favorite registration or ticketing solution to work with?
Oh.
Because everybody wants to know that.
I must say, I don't think I have found it yet. I work with a lot of different ones and different sites. I do think there is not a best one for everyone, though. Okay. I think like every registration is very different, and I even choose different ones with different, there's just some that don't work. Really, it's quite standard, the ticketing we do, but every user does have a different one. And like with all the great tech that you see in event tech, I do think there's a different solution for one. I do wish, though, like so many times I feel like I would love to just easy enough to build just this ticketing system, which brings all the great things that they all have. I always feel there's something missing on them all, which someone else has, but then they didn't have this and don't have that. So I'm sorry, I don't have a favorite.
That's a fair thing. Thank you very much, Francesca. Can we get a round of applause, please?
Thanks, guys. Just before you go, just to remind you, we've got some amazing sessions on the stage for the rest of the day. The next one, which starts in about 15 minutes, is about changing the language around tech, which again follows this theme of looking at tech for good as well. But look, thanks again to the guys, and have a really good IBTM today and tomorrow as well. Cheers, guys.